Insanity, why won't you work when I record? When I record. God damn it. Oh. The clouds. Girl, I don't even care anymore. Look how beautiful the sky looks. Is anyone else into this but me? Like the way that the clouds look outside? It's a cloudy sunset. You know what? I'm gonna do this video. Yeah, exactly. Of course. Just what? Anything else want to malfunction right now? Anything? Anybody else want to come in and like mess up this video? This is 100% not your fault, but I'm over this. This is my like 18th attempt to record this video. Every single time I've done tests. I have not moved the phone. I have not changed any of the technological equipment that I've been using. And yet when I start to talk, anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes of recordings have had no audio. And I wanted to use the external mic to increase the quality of the audio. However, I don't know if it's the mic or if it's evil spirits. I'm not sure which it is that is sabotaging this vlog that I was supposed to post today, but I couldn't because the 40-minute video that I recorded last night had no audio. I just don't know. And it really seems like, I'm trying not to take it personal, but this is getting to be a little bit ridiculous. So I'm hoping that this is my absolute last effort and my efforts will prove fruitful with some audio. I don't know. It cannot be me because I did the test. Okay, just one more test, just to be sure. It was audio. And then I just pressed record once again, and then there was no audio. So, I don't care anymore. I'm sitting here with my Oracle deck. Maybe my Oracle deck will help me feel a little bit better about what I'm doing right now for the 8th time. What number are we at? This is illustrated by Marcella Kroll. I got this in the US at the same shop that I got my crystals from. And she's illustrated the cards, and they come with a book that gives you information on what they're about. So I'm going to sit with them, I'm going to talk with them, and I'm going to hope that this is over soon. You're probably feeling the same. You're like, well, girl, what are you doing this for? It's for you. It's really for my friends. This is, just like my podcast, is for my friends. And if I did not love them so much, and if I was not committed to my art of oral storytelling, then this YouTube channel would be shut down. I've done it before, and I'm warning you, phone. Anyone want to provide me with some assistance to get a new phone? We can write it off as a business expense. I wanted to talk about my experience in Ecuador, but I've spoken about it so many times, and it has not been successfully recorded. The first time my friend came over right after the ayahuasca retreat when I got back from Ecuador, and I had a GoPro recording and then it cut off. And then I tried to talk about it again and there was no audio. This is actually the shirt that I was wearing during my first, it was my first San Pedro. It's by NTVS. It says the originals. And instead of those other guys on Mount Rushmore, it's indigenous people. This entire experience that I had in Ecuador was filmed. My friend was like, "You did a documentary this year?" I was like, "Yeah." It was this ayahuasca retreat. Supposed to be filmed for Netflix. Something fell through, but the woman who organized the center still wanted to record because everyone signed off on it, and that's a very rare thing to have these sort of ceremonial traditions recorded. There was actually one shaman. He was my favorite. He did not want anything filmed because he couldn't control the energy in the room with the electronic devices. It's not even a room, it's a ceremonial space. He couldn't control the energy in the ceremonial space with the interruption and influence of electronic devices. So he said no. And that was my very favorite ceremony out of all the ones that I did. Before I go too much further, you know what I'm going to do. I'm about to check the audio for this video, baby. Let's go. Let's have sound. Hey guys, the external mic is no more. I'm in my bedroom because I do hope that the sound is better. The fountain is on the other side of my apartment. And it makes a lot of background noise. And if I don't want to wait until after 11:06 p.m., I got to do it in this room. So there was audio. I'm very excited to say, and you probably will know that because this video will be posted. Yeah, so I did 2 ayahuasca ceremonies and 2 San Pedro ceremonies. The shamans for the ayahuasca ceremonies were different, but the San Pedro ceremonies, it was done by the shaman Christine, the woman who started Gaia Sagrada. She is a white woman from California, but traditionally shamans are of people who are native to these practices. Yet she did every single thing that she needed to do probably twice over, and she was knighted shaman. And so the San Pedro ceremonies with her, and we would sit across from her after taking the plant medicine on the magic carpet across from the ceremonial fire. They call fire father, and then the ayahuasca was mama. It was incredible to be in the mountains of Ecuador on this land surrounded by nature with animals. It rained a bit. There was a lot that I experienced surrounding water. I have a deep fear of putting my head underwater, which I shared on my Instagram previously. I almost drowned when I was 8. And I very vividly remember being at the bottom of a pool looking up, and my mom can't swim. No one in my family can swim. I still can't swim. And I remember looking up at my mom running back and forth because she couldn't save me. She didn't know how to swim. And someone had to run from the upstairs down to the pool to jump in and save me. And I don't recall being afraid at the bottom of the pool, but it's actually when I come out of the water that the fear starts. I went diving when I was in Tenerife. I don't know how to swim, but I went diving because there was a documentarian who worked in the Canary Islands and did a lot of work with the sea life and preserving the ocean. And he knew a diving instructor, and that person was skilled with people who didn't know how to swim. And I had so much fear and anxiety being on top of this water because I had a life vest on. It's not like I was going to sink and drown. I was safe, but the fear was coming from inside the house. And actually underneath the water, I don't know if you would call it calm. My therapist called it an out-of-body experience, because the time flew by. I remember being down there, but I also felt like I was stuck and I was frozen. And then you would think, after being submerged and surrounded by water for I think like 30 minutes, that when I come up, I would feel better. No, I came up and the same fear and anxiety rushed over me. I went to my friend's house over the summer. She has a pool. There's a shallow end and a deep end. And I dunked my head in the water, which is like one of the first times that I won't say first, but it's one of the few times that I've ever fully submerged my body in water. It was only for a few seconds. And I'm working towards this, like getting through this fear and anxiety around water, but it's not gone yet. And that's something that I would like to commit to myself to doing, is learning how to swim and becoming friendly with the sea, because you can't fight it. You're gonna lose. So you just have to embrace it. You have to ride the wave. And I would like to get to that place. But while I was in Ecuador, the cards jump out sometimes. While I was in Ecuador, I wanted to be in water. I wanted to be in the rain. I felt like I was being cleansed. And there are obviously parts of this experience that don't want to be shared. I will say, for me, when I sat across Christine and she asked, who stole your power and how are you going to get it back? I did discuss the historical lack of power that I have had as a Black woman. If you take a look at surveys or stats, like in any category, Black women are at the bottom. Dateability or desirability, pay, income, except education. In the United States, Black women are very highly educated. However, the fruits of that education and the fruits of our labor don't translate when it comes to wealth, equity, and access. Black women are the one of the least funded when it comes to venture capitalists, but a significant and huge and growing number of small businesses are being created by Black women. We are able to create and have such a powerful and positive impact, and yet oftentimes we are receiving the least amount of money, pay, or support. So when she asked about my power being stolen, I told her that I actually came into this world with a power deficit, just simply because of the way that the world is structured and set up. Historically, systematically, it doesn't matter what country you go to, it seems as if Black women are sent the message that they are deserving of the least amount of respect. And I talked about my mom. I talked about the connection that I have developed with my ancestors. So if you haven't started with my podcast, I would highly recommend starting there. There's a lot of backstory and details that I'm not going to cover here, just because I've already done it. And this story, this journey, it's in 3 parts. You have so many ways to consume the things that I'm saying or the message that I would like to share. The first was the podcast, and now the vlog. I'm committed. And then there's the book. So in the book, I will write about the parts of this ayahuasca experience that apparently don't want to be on film or have sound or audio connected with it. But over the last year, let's say 2, because it started when I lived in Tenerife, I have become incredibly connected to my ancestors and my ancestry. This all started actually with me just trying to understand where I came from and to have a little bit more color in the stories that I know and am able to tell about my ancestors. I don't know much about anyone above my grandparents. It's not for lack of trying. There's a lack of access to those stories, mainly because of the record keeping during those times. And then my ancestors very highly likely experienced a great deal of trauma, and also the behaviors that were passed down that are originating in trauma and responses to trauma that's not presently there. And so those stories aren't passed down either. Like, who wants to sit around the table at Thanksgiving and talk about the traumas that they've experienced, and what great grandma experienced, and what great great grandpa experienced, and what our ancestors went through? I think really what happened was people put their heads down and they did their best to survive, and they did their best to build a life. And then there were a lot of times where they did that and all of those efforts were taken away. They were limited in their access for a myriad of reasons. And this is incredibly traumatic. This is a trauma that is generational, it's ancestral, it's overwhelming. And in order for me to heal from the things that have happened to my people, it led me to an ayahuasca retreat. And in that experience, I was able to talk about myself, and I'm really grateful that there were other Black people there that like could see me and that were really connected to me and who really shared in the trauma that I shared. And they were from all over. There were 2 Black people from the US, and then there were, well, I won't say that she's mixed race. She has not identified herself to me. But there was one mixed race guy from Germany, and he shared his experience about being mixed race and living in Germany, and how children come up to him looking for guidance on how to exist in this world, looking the way that they do because of the treatment that they experience. But this suffering is not unique to us. A majority of the people who came there were suffering, or they have suffered at some point in their life. There's a lot of hurt happening around the world, not just to the Earth's inhabitants, but to the Earth itself. And I believe that there needs to be an awakening of whoever it is that you were meant to be. The journey that I've been on has been to answer the question, who are you? And then I answer the question, who stole your power? And now I'm working on how I'm going to get it back. A huge chunk of that is my relationship with time. While I was in Ecuador, we didn't know what time it was because it was irrelevant. There was a ceremony, I believe it was an ayahuasca ceremony, where someone asked the date, and someone said the date, and I said the year, and everyone booed. I mean, not everyone, but like quite a few people booed me for bringing up the year. It was so nice. It didn't matter when you woke up. It didn't matter when you went to sleep. Your body is capable so much. I'm learning that through the healing process that I'm doing at home, basically physical therapy, rehabbing myself, working through all of this trauma that has been accumulated in my body and gone unaddressed since I was, let's say, 8, because this drowning was surely traumatic to me. The trauma doesn't always have to be physical. It could be emotional, it could be mental, but our bodies carry all of this tension. If you have any tension in your jaw, that probably means that you bite your tongue. During the ceremony, the shaman told me that someone has stolen my voice. And that's absolutely true. While I was there, we would pass around a drum and sing. You could sing whatever you wanted. Doesn't matter. People sang rock songs. They sang children's songs. They sang You Are My Sunshine. That was a big hit. And I could not sing. I felt like my voice was stuck inside like Ariel, really connected to the recent rendition of The Little Mermaid. in my room at night, I would sing to myself, or so I thought. But actually, the guy staying above me told me one night he could hear me and that he really liked my singing voice and that it was like I was singing him to sleep because I was singing at night. And that made me feel relief because I always assumed that I didn't have a good voice. I felt like, first of all, my creative passions, which I think I might have discussed before, were not nurtured. But at the same time, it was like, okay, I want to be a writer, and I can only do that. Like, just focus on writing. You have that skill, and like that's your talent, and go forth and do that. But oftentimes, people who are creative have more than one skill set. Like, that is just the nature of creativity. And I've also noticed that with the healing and the release of tension in my throat, and my physical therapist said that oftentimes physical therapists skip the front of the body. There's a lot of trauma and knots in my jaw, in my neck, in my chest, in my shoulders, in my stomach, in my groin. I mean, hey, my feet. Hey, listen. It's been a life. It's been a life, okay? And the more I stretch and free my body from this cage, I'm also finding my voice. I'm singing for no other reason than I like to sing. This was an incredibly healing experience going to Ecuador and going through this process. And also just hearing other people's stories. I am an observer, and I really took a lot away from the experiences that other people were having, and everyone was on their own point in the journey. And there were a lot of people who came to this ayahuasca retreat because they didn't feel like there was anywhere else in the world where they could be themselves, and they were searching for a place where they belong. They were searching for a place where they could freely express themselves and share the ugly parts of them without feeling judgment. We were there to support and hold space and uplift each other. And maybe that's all I can say about this experience. And I can ask that if you are watching this video, and I know that if you are my friend, you're already doing that because you've held space for me and you have helped save my life. And we can all do something to help save or lift up the lives of others. It really doesn't take a lot. It really does not take a lot. Kindness is free. And there's no scarcity of kindness unless you choose to make it a transactional commodity. When I got to Gaia Sagrada, I did a energy cleanse and a tarot reading by this beautiful shaman who I love, and I messaged him not too long ago to tell him I was thinking of him. And he's such a sweet, beautiful soul. And he was also there during my first San Pedro ceremony, where in the ceremonial space there was this fire, and the fire keepers placed the wood in a certain way, the sage and the herbs, and they would use that to cleanse the space. And you would receive messages from the fire. The fire speaks. When it would pop and it would crackle, and it would talk to people as they were sitting across from the shaman sharing their stories. And so oftentimes when I'm here in my apartment and I'm talking to my friends or I'm doing these videos, a noise will happen that tells me that I'm on the right track, or whatever it's saying is pointing it out to me. And so I would also invite you to look for those signs in your own life, like the signs that show you that you're on the right path. I think a lot of times there are these people or reasons to limit and challenge and minimize the impact of signs. Oh, that's a coincidence. Deja vu. My friend and I were talking about this. Of course, there's a technological reason, scientific reason for deja vu, feeling like you have experienced something before. For me, I don't believe what they say on the internet. I do believe that there are some people who are gifted. Some have leaned into their gifts. And what I've also come to realize is that we can all tap into those gifts. Whether it be through manifestation, whether it be through scripting, whether it be through everyday work to get to the life that we want to live. And a part of that for me is visualizing and writing down goals that I have for myself, or places that I want to go, or things that I want to achieve, and what I would like my life to look like. So I have this vision book that I have already done this. I have this vision book where I put in goals, I write down my manifestations. A really good tip that I saw on TikTok, my friend calls it the philosopher's tool, is like, if you say, I want to have more money, I want to have $1 million, I want to be a millionaire. All right, that's cool. Like, people throw out that number. I honestly don't care about money. The only reason I want money is because I live in a system that is led by capitalism, and I need it to survive. But I have written down a budget. So you say, I want to have $1 million. Okay, well, what would you do with that $1 million? Like, really get to the place where you are moving as if you already have what it is that you want. So set up your plans for the money that you're going to get, for the job that you're going to have, for the place that you want to live, that the goals that you want to achieve. Put yourself in a place where you already have them. Speak in present tense when you speak about the things you want for your life. And half of this book is visual. So instead of doing just the vision board that stays at home because it's too big to travel with, whenever I get magazines for free, because magazines be expensive these days. I went to the US and magazines were like $16. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay for that and cut it up. Nah. So at the airport, there's free magazines. At libraries, actually, if you go, at my local library, yes. If you go to the library and ask for like discarded magazines that they're just gonna recycle, then they'll give them to you for free. And maybe you would like to start your own collage vision project. These are some of the things that I have been doing. There's really no trick. It's just belief. Yeah. I really hope that you enjoyed this, because you have no idea what I had to go through to do this video. Oh, God. Oh, what's going on? How am I gonna stop the camera? Oh my God, this is wow. Come to mama. And I just hope that you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe and follow, because I'm tired. I have other things to do, but this is also very important to me. Thank you for watching. What I took away from that energy cleansing and that reading was that I'm not alone, that my tribe is out there. And I'm calling them every single time I do a podcast or video or create content on social media. Like, I'm connecting with my tribe. And I want people to know that they are welcome here with me. This is a safe space.